Hi, Alicia. Thanks for being available to interview today. Can you please tell me what you're qualified to teach and to what age range?
I'm qualified to teach generalist primary education as well as specialist French in primary school as well, from prep to year six. So I believe that's reception to the end of key stage two.
Excellent. And can you please tell me a little bit about the teaching experience you've had so far?
So I am 1.5 years into my career, and so far I've taught a year five class last year, a year five six class last year, sorry, and a year five class this year. And my placements during university covered prep, year two, year three, four as a combined class, and a year five class as well as a French whole school placement.
Excellent. With the experience that you've had, have you worked with any students who've had any special needs or any additional learning needs?
Yeah, we're in a very unique position in the school that I'm in at the moment, where we are a very new school. So a lot of the parents have chosen to send their children to us who have special needs, simply because we have smaller class sizes. So last year I did have a student with an intellectual impairment who we actually diagnosed after I noticed she was showing some signs of something not quite being right there. We also have, I guess, a larger Indigenous population where I'm working at the moment in remote far north Queensland. So I have some work in the ESL area as well. We have this year, I have two verified students, one with a double verification of hearing and also a chromosome deficiency, and another student with a hearing impairment but also receptive language barriers. And there's a third student who is 2 points off being intellectually impaired, but she actually has a lot of difficulty with her working memory. So I've had a lot of, I guess, practice with the differentiation within my classroom to do with learning needs.
Absolutely. And tell me a little bit about, I know you mentioned you kind of can incorporate French into a primary setting. Tell me a little bit about the experience you've had with that.
Absolutely. So I taught French to year five, six as I guess my homeroom class last year, and this year I've been subbed out by another teacher to teach to year six as well, since I only have the year fives. So that we started them from a prep to two level because they've never been immersed in the language before. So I am teaching them at quite a low level, but I've found being able to teach French as a generalist classroom teacher as well, I integrate it into more than just the half hour a week where you barely get any language immersion. We do French during our role taking, sometimes some of our prayers, those sorts of things, so the kids are more exposed to the language. And I think they find they make those connections more broadly across the curriculum because of that. So it's been quite good to see.
Fantastic. And with regards to classroom management, how do you like to set up your classroom and what ongoing strategies do you use to keep the students engaged?
Yeah, so classroom management for any early careers teacher is the crux of it all. It's the most difficult part that I've found, but because of that I've sought quite a bit of support in that area and found something that really works for me. So initially I've found the best classroom management system is to actually model that same behaviour to the children, to learn their names, to be having those interactions with them. So I will spend a good 10 minutes every morning actually going through the role and asking each child, how are you? How's your weekend? You know, how I know grandma's visiting, so they have those conversations and that opportunity to have a positive interaction, because really for me, the classroom management is all about the relationships. If they're not positive to start with, it's not going to end well for anyone. So there's a lot of that modelling, and for me, I use a visual, I guess, a visual cue for how the students are doing with their behaviour in the classroom. So we have 6 posters up on the wall with all the students' names, and they can see whether they are ready to learn or they are going above and beyond for that, and that's based on effort, the kinds of questions they're asking, their engagement with the lessons. And the lowest tier is buddy class, because that is part of our whole school positive behaviour management system. We also have, there is a child in the class who has the double verification whose behaviour has been quite physical in the past. So we've worked very closely with him and his family this year to try and help him to be successful at school and to be able to actually come to school and for everyone to be safe. So far he's had lots of success with that this year with the practices we've put in place for him. Things like I have moved him to an out-of-phase curriculum because I noted that was his point of difficulty, was that he actually couldn't access the curriculum and became quite frustrated. So I think the classroom management approach needs to encompass also how are the kids feeling and why are they showing those behaviours. There's lots of other things that we do with him as well, such as communication with the parents and other, I guess, third parties outside school who might be trying to support him so that everyone's included in the child's education. It's not just the teacher standing at the front of the classroom. I have a positive reward system as well, where if students do achieve always positive behaviour by the end of the day, they might receive a stamp on a card or something, and once those build up, they can exchange that for some sort of reward. So for me, the rewards are usually me spending time with the child, and they really enjoy that. So it might be coming in at lunchtime and playing a board game with me and one of their friends, or there was one time where I said that I would do the floss dance at assembly, and they enjoyed that as well, or going out and playing handball with them at lunchtime. So it was all that, and they really work towards just wanting to have those relationships and wanting to have positive experiences with their teachers and their friends at school. In terms of keeping that up and going, I do try to be as consistent and fair as I can, but I'm aware that sometimes I don't see the whole picture, or sometimes I need extra support from leadership to be able to make decisions where things might be a bit cloudy or it's a bit beyond my scope as the classroom teacher. So I will seek support from leadership when required, and will seek support also from the learning support teacher based on what she sees the needs for the kids as in the classroom.
Absolutely. And lastly, with regards to a lesson, how do you introduce a lesson, work through it, and check that learning outcomes have been achieved?
Yeah, so in terms of introducing a lesson, it's generally start with some sort of warm-up, so getting into the mindset of that. It is quite difficult, I find, in the primary school because we do have 10 or so different subjects that we're trying to teach, and you might get to 5 of those throughout the day, so the kids' minds are constantly needing to jump between English, maths, we're going to go to science now. So I find that a warm-up at the start or some sort of going over what we've done before really helps them, and I try to change that up a bit each time so that they do remain engaged with that and it's not the same boring routine every lesson. This coming term I'm going to introduce pre-teaching, particularly for those 3 verified students and another 3 who we kind of have on our radar. So I will be also introducing the topic to them prior to the rest of the class so that they have that language already under their belt, because for a lot of them their receptive language skills are quite low. So teaching them that vocabulary quite explicitly before they get into that introductory session with the entire class so that they can still participate. Once we get to the actual body of the lesson, I'll spend probably 5 to 10 minutes actually modelling what we'll be doing that lesson. For today's example, I've chosen fractions, which is something that I taught at the end of last term. So we're looking at finding a fraction of a collection in maths, obviously. So we were working with egg cartons and being able to show using counters a certain fraction of the eggs in the egg carton. So this was working quite hands-on because I'd noticed in the testing that we'd done earlier with the MAI assessment that they were missing a few key parts from year 2-3 understandings. So we were trying to fill those in with a lot of hands-on and concrete materials so that they were still able to succeed at that year 5 level by the end of the unit. After I've done kind of my modelling of what we're doing, I will then talk to the students about what I actually need them to succeed at in this lesson or this week or however long that's going to be, and give them that time period so that they're aware of how long they have to be able to work on this concept. And we'll go through what did I actually do to show that I had achieved. So they will come up with those success criteria themselves. So after the demonstration, then I will give them 20 to 25 minutes usually to practice that themselves, be able to put up their hand and let me come to them, be able to work with a partner to solve that and work through it. I will usually put up quite a simple question on the board to start. I like giving every student the chance to succeed first up, and then slowly change that depending on what I'm seeing in front of me. I'll also make sure to check in with, we have school officers, and I'm lucky in that I have quite a lot of school officer time. You may call them aides in England. So I will go and check in with them too early in the lesson to make sure that they understand the students' needs who they're working with, or if they need to take out a small group, given that there's a few students being out of phase as well. So we will work through those questions together. I'll go around and check, give students immediate feedback, and then also if I notice that there's a few students straying off path the same way, we'll come back together and re-explain it, or have that whole class conversation about how do we work out these problems, what kind of strategies are people using, have those gotcha moments where students have shown something, you know, a little bit outside the box, and they get that chance to show that off to their peers. For those students who need extending to, offering that chance to say, well, show it to me in a different way, can you push yourself further, or how about you try this question then because you know you have this, those sorts of things. And then concluding, we come back together and usually write up on, because I have a few students with those, I guess, receptive language difficulties and difficulty with vocabulary, we usually make up a class poster at the end about what did we learn, what did the different words mean that we were using. We come up with our word wall and bring it all together, because there are students with memory difficulties as well, making sure that they can then access the curriculum the next day, or I can photocopy those posters and send them home so that the parents can work with the same program that we're working with in class, for those students to be able to practice those skills. So in terms of being engaging, I find that the hands-on activities help, and particularly with differentiation, it's a lot easier than handing out the same worksheet to all the kids. And we'll also work in then after the whole group discussion, I might then have some rotations later on in the week to target those areas that the kids are struggling with, or those students who need to extend themselves further.
Fantastic. Alycia, thank you again for being available today.